Let's start with running backs today, Tom. Let's go to Aaron Jones, a knee injury. What can you tell us about his week 13 status?
Well, remember, he missed last week with that MCL injury. And again, this is the fifth MCL injury of his career. Of course, we have two knees, so it's not five on one side, but still. He didn't practice today. Running backs on average, they missed 3.1 games. Aaron Jones in his career averages missing 1.5 games. So as of now, it's not looking great for him to play this week. But of course, there's 2 more days to practice. We'll see what happens. But either way, Green Bay is historically very conservative when they bring players back from injury. The 2 times that Aaron Jones has been injured this season, in the game back, he had 35% of snaps and 36% of snaps. So whenever he does play, whether it's this week, next week, the week after, we're not expecting a full workload right out of the gate. Additionally, running backs average a decline of about 14% fantasy production when they return from an MCL injury. Not a huge hit, but also a 21% decline in their snap rate, which again, we just kind of talked about how Green Bay is usually even more conservative than that. So unfortunately, it's going to be really hard to trust him anytime soon. I'm not saying he's useless the rest of the fantasy season, but you're going to want to see at least one game of his usage before you can trust starting him again. And if he doesn't play this week, that means that it's either next week or the week after. There's that one game that you're almost like burning that game by not starting him, just kind of see what they do, and then maybe you play him again. So we're not expecting a whole lot out of him in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
That is really eye-opening because in my notes here, I mean, you know how much I don't love A.J. Dillon. It's going to be hard to pick between them if you do have that choice, but you really just opened up my eyes. So a 14% decrease or so in production, but that snap thing, would you say he plays on those 2 games back like 35% of the snaps? They are super conservative. Wow. And Aaron Jones, rough season. I mean, mostly because of injuries. I mean, he's missed 5 games, including last week. They do play the Chiefs this week, a mid-range or mid-level matchup, I guess, against running backs. I was going to say I would play him, but again, that really is kind of scary. So you have to evaluate. You have to see what options you get. I mean, if he plays, I'm sure he'll do okay, get you a handful of points, but that also is going to eat into the production of A.J. Dillon, who last week I told you to sit him or be very careful. I mean, last week, A.J. Dillon, 14 carries, 43 yards, not much, had a couple catches for 38 yards. That's going to be a tough situation in a game that the Packers, I mean, listen, they might compete. The Packers look okay. Jordan Love, Tom, has kind of been a roller coaster. He's been good. He's been bad, but he's looking okay. But I expect them to be playing from behind against the Chiefs, and I do like Aaron Jones out of the backfield more. But again, those things that you just said are really, really helpful. So you just got to see what you have on your team. And Jaden Reed from that team, he's been really, really good. He's crept into, for me at least, in the leagues that I'm seeing, he's a must play. And he's a guy I could see going a little bit earlier next year than we might have expected him to go. What's the Jaden Reed buzz for Dynasty, Tom? Is he a guy that is a popular name out there? I mean, is he a guy that people are going for?
I think we'll see the buzz really ramp up through the end of the season. In the leagues I'm in, he hasn't been traded or anything like that. I haven't seen him started against me. I don't have him in any leagues, but his dynasty value is definitely going up as the season goes on.
Stock certainly increasing. All right, we'll keep an eye on that situation. Devon Achane, a knee injury, and we need him back, man. I mean, he didn't play last week, right? Yeah. So what's up with his status for this week? What do you got on him?
Limited to start the week, and you're right. He's just fun to watch, man. So obviously didn't play last week. The week before was his first game back from this same injury, and right away he went out. So hopefully we can get him back this week. He did practice today. We'll see how he does Thursday and Friday. But if that amount of the volume of practice is trending upwards, I expect him to play. And while running backs do see that 14% dip in production, he's so explosive that he could just have one touch and that could be valuable. So we're still starting him if he plays. But like we talked about last week, he's one that going into the fantasy playoffs, you want to make sure that if he's a guy you're relying on, you at least have a serviceable backup, because this is his 3rd time injured in the NFL, and this is his 1st year in the NFL, and he's not a big guy. So his durability is going to be a concern going forward.
Unfortunate to hear that. We'll see. I mean, he's a guy during the offseason, I'm sure there's going to be buzz and talk about how he's injury prone or whatever. And I think I'm going to be able to buy that discount, but we got to see how the rest of the season pans out. But again, the fire and the excitement kind of wearing off on him a little bit. I mean, now it's week 13. He hasn't produced since week 5. It's been a while, but we miss him. He's super explosive. And Tom, I agree with you, man. I think if he's playing this week, you have to play him. If not, simple as Raheem Mostert. It's going to be the 31-year-old yet again who, by the way, man, just continues to put together a dominant campaign. Raheem Mostert does. He's RB2. But if Achane is able to play, I think both running backs are playable this week. Now, if he's not able to go in a tough week with all these buys, don't sleep on Jeff Wilson. He's a guy that if you're desperate, like Tom, again, I always talk about how desperate I am. In one of my leagues, I got to play Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. If Jeff Wilson's out there, like he's going to get some opportunities in what this week should be similar to the Jets game last week on Friday, another potential blowout against the Commanders. So they might be running a lot. So we'll keep an eye on that situation. I think if this makes sense, you can play 2 running backs in this backfield depending on who is actually available. If all 3 are good to go, I'm sitting Jeff Wilson, but those other 2 guys I'm good with. All right.